Am I going to do the beard and wine photo before shaving or growing it out? Beard and wine photo? Well, like a hipster? I don't know. I originally did this for a week just to have a little meme for ReZero. And now I'm like, I'm too lazy to shave it. So, I don't know. How long are we going for? Are we going for a glorious moustache to do a King Bradley cosplay? Are we going for a glorious beard and long hair like Naked Snake? What are we doing? I do not know. I haven't figured it out yet. I have absolutely no plan. Become Santa. Yes. I too would like a sweatshop of elves. Okay, we can use this for our short story. And then there were none. Let us begin. You guys remember that photo of that gym trainer in Pokemon Gold and Silver? How she's sitting on a Magnemite? The Magnemite has a screw on its head. That girl was the OG E-girl. The Steel gym leader. Yeah, she was the OG E-girl. Okay, and everyone was surprised why she was the gym leader so young. Oh man, she wasn't there for a fighting ability, let me tell you that. And then there were none. The flute of Hamlin resounds, and the curtains are drawn, a holy stage that decides the life or death of mankind. Humankind. I was in a room without windows, or even a door. It was a huge room. There was no lamp to be found, but it was bright. The entire ceiling seemed to function as the light source. Around me were people around my age. At first sight, their races seemed to be completely random, me included. There were 9 males, and the remaining 4 were females. Some were still unconscious, and others were already standing with their guard up. And for some reason, each of us had a book lying by their side. What happened? Why am I here? I felt dizzy, maybe due to being drugged to sleep. At times like this, it is best not to stand up too quick. As I identified the situation around me, I reached for my gun. However, as expected, it was gone. Waking up in an unmistakably kidnapped state, I knew fire weapons and the like would be confiscated. It is only natural. However, even the wire that was sewn in the hem of my clothing and the explosives hidden in my shoe soles were gone. All of them, without exception. Wow, this guy's, quite, ready to go. That is when I realized I was captured by the very organization I worked for. I had a feeling this would happen. It came to me when I was told about the shady top-secret mission. Moreover, they told me it was not an order. I was free to accept the mission or not, they said. Well, that escalated quickly. That's what you get for not keeping any weapons that your employer is not aware of. Don't trust anyone, not even your employer. Your wage giver. Not only would I be presented with huge compensation, see what I mean? But they even... Jiggy, stop it. Back to this song. Don't be happy. Be sad. That's more like it. Stay sad, NieR. Stay sad. Not only would I be presented with huge compensation, but they even promised to let me retire from service after the mission. In other words, they told me I could say goodbye to this rotten life of mine. You would truly be an utter fool to refuse an offer like this. Or a homicidal maniac, I guess. Of course. When they are willing to go this far, it couldn't be a decent mission. Perhaps 99 out of 100. No, 99 out of 1,000 would not return alive or something. They were not likely to give such offers because from the beginning, they did not intend to pay anything. Of course, I knew as much. Despite knowing all along, I'm still here in this mess. Failing to remember, I sneered at myself. Then someone called to me from the inside. It was a young man, presumably younger than me, but unfortunately he was not from the same country. I silently shook my head. He probably understood the situation too, as he didn't talk to me since. People from all kinds of countries work for my organization. Most of us only understand our mother tongues. When our age finally hits the second digit, we are forced a life of military training from dusk to dawn. We don't get proper education or anything. We can't read or write our own language, let alone learn other languages. Of course, there are also those that are born from parents from different countries, and being raised abroad from a young age have learned multiple languages. But they are but a minority. I also made an attempt of greeting the guy on the opposite side of me in my mother tongue, but he too silently shook his head. Wow. The vibe of the situation, ladies and gentlemen. At the time, the girl right in front of me raised her hand. It seemed she finally got to her senses. Resistance to drugs is different per person, but people like her are the ones that usually die first. Being slower than the others can kill you. As soon as our eyes met, her face filled with surprise. Does she know me? Who is she? Wait, I think I've seen her somewhere too. The lass stood up. Oh! The way the lass. There's only one person who I know that says the word lass. And that's Weiss. Oh, shit. Oh, wow, wow. And now it hits. And now it hits. Yep, there's the chill down my spine. There's only one person I know that says the word lass. Oh, boy. Okay, okay. Okay, whoa. That was something. As expected, that must have made her dizzy. With a grand sound, she tumbled down. Wow. Oof. I thought the photo would have been obvious. What photo? What photo? This one? I thought this photo was all about, you know, Grimoire Nier. And then there were none. As in, this is just another photo from the book. But, okay. Hindsight's 2020. At the sight of her clumsiness, I remembered. So you were still alive, huh? Raising her upper body, she nodded. The lass knew a small amount of languages, and I heard her mother came from my country. Children naturally learn the language of that their mother speaks. How good you are alive too. Of course I am. Don't put me in the same category as you. Are you fucking joking? We just had 5 advertisements. Spotify, I know you're a ethot, but come on. Have standards. Stop putting those ads in your mouth. It's dirty. Did I at least loop it on one song? Because I think the ads are triggered by the number of songs you listen to, which in our case was 3 for 4 ads. The ratio of ads to songs is too damn high. Of course I am. Don't put me in the same category as you. I recommend using the artwork for the tweets like you did last time. I don't remember what I did. Of course I am. Don't put me in the same category as you. I met her 3 years ago. We were both survivors of the 13th Crusade, a large-scale Legion mop-up operation. Oh yes. Yes, we have context for that. Yes, mop-up who doesn't love a good fashion mop-up operation? Of course, we were in different units, but once the operation starts, what unit you're in doesn't matter shit. All battlefields are like that. But this one was even worse than usual. At the time I was 16, and already a senior soldier. But even I knew the chances of survival were only about 50-50 despite that. In the midst of the melee, I found an idiot that stood shook still in front of the legions. In an instant, I knocked her down before our surroundings were reduced to ashes. It wasn't an act of mercy or anything admirable. We soldiers are valuable goods. That's why we save our comrades, or rather, we don't waste them. That's the regulation. I like that. Don't waste your comrades. You need the enemy to shoot at someone else besides you. Teamwork is essential. It gives the enemy someone else to shoot at. It's like, holy shit. Wow. Huh. To my surprise, the idiot was my age. So she was suddenly thrown into the battlefield without even having received any proper training. It's no surprise she lost her head seeing the legions from up close. The legions bear the resemblance of human beings. I like the word bear. They were once human after all. Many infected with the white chlorination syndrome face death, but some survive. By turning into rabid monsters, that is. urgency of exterminating the legions is not simply because they attack humans. The legions are a huge source of infection, creating new patients of the white chlorination syndrome. This mysterious disease emerged 30 years ago, and to this day, no cure has been found. Maybe it was a disease spread by the white giant that came from another world. Although there is no specific remedy, prevention medicine exists. Why does this sound a little bit like COVID? Oh boy. Let's continue. The problem is that it is impossible to mass produce the luciferase medicine. Besides, its effects have only been confirmed among the young. The younger, the higher the efficiency. Thus, children with high physical ability are selected, administered with a valuable luciferase, and assigned to the extermination of the legions. The internal organization that trains and dispatches these children is the Hamlin Organization. The name was taken from a fairy tale about a piper that assembles children and leads them away. But in my opinion, it is a name of extremely bad taste. I can't say that I've read it, but an adult leading children away? Wow, okay. We're going there already. It's only 8:20 in the morning and we're already going there. Fun. Trauma, here we come. So, why are you here anyway? They told me about a top secret mission. High compensation. Release from service. You are free to accept or not, right? This is like one of those people that are told about a great opportunity to make lots of money really quickly. And when they turn up to the interview, there's like 3 cameras and a handheld. And they're like, what's going on? I thought this was a modeling job. Honey. Sounds more like permanent release from service. Well, it kind of is, right? Her eyes opened in surprise, but she understood immediately and nodded. Until that day 3 years ago, the lass had quite naturally been going to school. So if anything, her learning and comprehensive abilities were higher than mine. I wonder if everyone in here was offered the same deal. I mean, would they make individual deals for different people? I doubt it. I took a good look around me again. Maybe we are all from different places because we are brought with the expectations of our countries on our shoulders. At first sight, it doesn't appear that people besides the girls and I are planning to share their intention with each other. People that can refuse it are not here, I think. I wonder what the room with the people that refuse looked like. She was right. Everyone strongly wished to escape their current lives. What we are doing was murder. Genocide, after all. We are told that our opponents are monsters without a shard of intelligence, but firsthand they look unmistakably human, and we incinerate them alive. It is said that the white chlorination syndrome is passed on by bodily fluids like blood and saliva, so by shooting them down, we spread the virus. Therefore, we are ordered to restrain from firing our guns whenever possible. We don't wish to inhale anything dangerous ourselves, so we don't complain. However, seeing creatures that look just like humans die wrapped in fire is no pretty sight. I incinerated my first legion when I only just turned 10. 9 years have passed since then, but I still can't get used to it. No matter how many times I see it, it is never pleasant. I love how it says I incinerated my first legion. Number within a legion. I think it's like 7,000? What's the number within a legion? The Roman legion was the largest military unit of the Roman army. A legion was roughly a brigade size, comprised of 4,200 infantry and 300 cavalry in a republican period, expanded to 5.2 thousand infantry and 120 auxilia in the imperial period. Alright, so it's 4 to 5,000. He incinerated his first legion at the age of 10. That's pretty hardcore. That's pretty fucking hardcore. Give this man a piece of Ukraine. Motherfucker. Holy shit. His first legion. Go big or go home, I guess. Not an actual legion. I know, I'm making a joke here, but come on. I love the play on words from this translation. It's very easy to interpret it that he incinerated an entire legion. They don't even call them legionaries. They just call them a legion. But, okay. You get what I mean. Grimoire Weiss was a badass. Wait a minute. So, he's a white guy that goes around incinerating thousands of people. Grimoire Weiss was a Nazi. Bring the Flammwaffen! What's it called? Bring the flame. What's the meme? Hans, get the Flammenwerfer. Is that how you pronounce it? Does anyone know how to pronounce it? Hans, get the Flammenwerfer. Is that how you pronounce it? Too soon? It's 8:24 in the morning. Fuck if I know, dude. We don't have anyone here that speaks German? Come on. People who comment Flammenwerfer and not flamethrower. Memes Heinz, get Z. Oh my god, I like it. Oh my god, I like it. Hans, hold den Flaffenwerfer. I need to learn some German for the memes. The memes, Jack, the memes. Ah. Okay, where were we? Something about incinerating a legion at 8:25 in the morning? Jesus. Well, we need a Hans now. We do. We need a Gunther, too. Oh, that's the one thing that I didn't buy yesterday. I did a massive shopping session that, because we get a 10% discount once a month. So I did a shopping session. I can show you a photo of the cart. And I literally had $450 within one shopping cart. There was no room anywhere in the cart. Like, I stacked that motherfucker. And now that I think about it, I should have brought some Kreinski. That stuff is delicious, especially the one with the cheese inside. My god. German sausage. Wow, that sounded homoerotic. Okay, let us continue. Where were we? Where's the genocide at? Where's the genocide? Yep. I incinerated my first legion when I just turned 10. 9 years have passed since then, but I still can't get used to it. No matter how many times I see it, it is never pleasant. This thing, what do you think it is? It looks like a book, but it cannot open. With a curious face, the lass tried to open the book. The books that were left near each of us were very thick, and the covers, that could either be black or a deep grey, had nothing written on them. Sausage lover. Oh boy. That episode from Game of Thrones comes to mind, where that guy's like, with the sausage. Jesus. Ah, in her panic, she let go of the book. Don't you, on me, jeez. I let out a spontaneous sigh. This part of her has not changed one bit over the past 3 years. Even though it was just for a while, the lass and I worked together after I saved her. I could not afford to leave folks without any battle experience to chance. Luckily, she was a quick learner, with only a few instructions halfway. She managed to keep up with me without delay. Her physical abilities were also formidable. They had to be, otherwise the lass would not have been selected at the age of 16. No matter how high her receptivity to luciferase was. However, when we could no longer avoid being split up, I thought she would die. After the operation ended, we had no means of contacting each other. Ramsay Bolton. Oh man. Ramsay Bolton is what happens when a psychopath is mistreated as a child. We've all seen what happens when a sociopath is mistreated as a child and, you know, develops criminal tendencies and it becomes dysfunctional and unable to integrate into society. What happens when a psychopath is mistreated? You get Ramsay Bolton. Quite literally. Good job surviving that. You sure have good luck. She violently shook her head in denial. Because you let me escape. That's not true. It was an error of judgment on my side. Why do the Patriots come to mind? It was an error of judgment no one could have foreseen. Are you fucking shitting me? We split up because we were surrounded by legions. If we would run in opposite directions, at least one of us would be able to run away. That's the kind of numbers and disposition the enemy had. I obviously have higher chances of survival and more value in combat. So if I have to make a choice between me or her, I would be the one going down the safer route. Yet, I chose the impossible option. I must have been possessed. That's why I was filled with a feeling of discomfort as I remembered. I felt irritated. Until this very day, I have taken effort not to remember. When she opened her mouth, wanting to say something in return, we heard a quarrel from a corner of the room. It was a guy and a girl. Let me guess, they have a red bag. I thought they must have happened to understand each other, like us, but that did not seem to be the case. I don't know what the reason was, but it must have been a trivial matter. They were cursing at each other without understanding what the other said. Soon, the girl slapped the guy. It sounded painful, yet no one tried to intervene. But I could not blame them. Each and every one of us has received enough training to fight off a legion barehanded. If you were to step in, you would have to prepare for the possible consequences. Weiss was thinking with his penis, clearly. It's like, I would go down the safer route, but for some reason I didn't. I don't know why. I mean, it's like logic went out the window. I don't understand it. Damn it! It seems that Weiss was a man too. A boy, a man. When a boy becomes a man, you know, ¿por qué no los dos? The young man's face turned red, and he grabbed for the girl. At the moment, we witnessed something unbelievable. Suddenly, the book at the feet of the girl opened, even though she didn't touch it or kick it with her foot by accident. From the opened book, suddenly a black hand emerged. The hand quickly enlarged to a gigantic proportion and grabbed the young man, raised him in the air with an astonished expression on his face. He was crushed to death. The girl was dumbfounded too. Apparently, even she didn't know what was happening. But it did not end there. The book that belonged to the young man started emitting a strong light. I thought another black hand would appear, but I was wrong. His body was sucked into the book, not to be seen again. Along with the young man's body, the light from the book also disappeared. Then the cover's blackish color turned into aquamarine, and a pattern formed on it. It was an eerie pattern that resembled a face. Oh, shit! The silence did not last long. In an instant, the entire room raised an uproar. What was that? How the fuck should I know? Don't ask me. So the guy was dead and he was absorbed into the book. It would be quite an interesting thing that you could be dead and become a grimoire. Because imagine, you know, they weaponize something like this and every one of the legionaries or the soldiers is carrying this on them. They get killed in combat and they become a grimoire. It's like, yay, life after death, right? In a way, sort of. Huh. We're really playing God, aren't we? Humans. I reached out my hand for the book that was laying next to me. Until now, I thought it would be best not to touch it carelessly, but the situation had changed. I now had to obtain as much information about these books as I could. Not only were there no letters or illustrations of the cover, it didn't even have a single scratch. I had a feeling the material was different from mere paper. And as the last said, the pages were completely stuck together, as if glued shut. Like that glue, like that woman that used super glue to wash her hair or something. What the fuck? That, you gotta be a special level of stupid to go to the hardware section of the supermarket, buy super glue, and be like, I can use this as hair gel. I mean, that's a special level of stupid, right? I found that glue in a hardware store, next to the other industrial adhesives. You gotta be shitting me. I mean, I know people are stupid, but holy shit. And then the internet was like, you're not the only one. They should not make glue look like this. And I'm thinking, are you fucking joking? That's the equivalent of me going to the hardware store, seeing the white liquid, and being like, aspirated spirits. Ethanol. I can drink this. I mean, methylated spirits. You know, it's white. It's clear. It sort of looks alcohol-y. I can drink this. Are you fucking... She sued, right? Does anyone know if she won? She probably didn't. Probably what happened, one of the guys did a pro bono surgery. I mean, you're gonna have to cut off all your hair, let's face it. You're fucked. And she probably sued, but come on. I mean, but then again, it is America. Someone was driving a Winnebago on a highway, got up from the driver's seat with cruise control enabled, went to the kitchen in the Winnebago, and obviously it fucking crashed. But they went up to make a sandwich, and then they sued the company that produces Winnebagos because nowhere in the user manual does it say you cannot leave the driver's seat while the Winnebago is in motion to make a sandwich. And apparently they won. Here's another one. Someone ordered an extra hot coffee at McDonald's. I don't even know what an extra hot coffee is. But to make a long story short, they ordered an extra hot coffee at McDonald's. And then they went to drink it. But you know how the coffee cups have that little, like, lid? They took off the lid, went to drink it. It was hot. They went, They slipped because they're an idiot. And they dropped the coffee on them. Then they sued McDonald's for damages and psychological trauma from the cup of coffee being too hot and them not knowing that it was hot and they had to wait before drinking it after they ordered an extra hot cup of coffee. So now McDonald's on every coffee cup in every country has caution hot. And they won. Why? Because America. Like, what the fuck? Could you... Let me tell you what would happen if you took that to an Australian court. You would be laughed at. The judge would probably be like, were you seriously stupid enough to drink a extra hot cup of coffee as soon as you got it? Are you fucked, mate? Like, the judge would literally be like, are you fucked, mate? Are you alright, mate? You good up there, mate? The judge would make fun of you. Have you never had a meat pie, mate? Have you never put a meat pie in the microwave for 3 minutes, 30 seconds and took a bite right out of the meat pie, mate? You never got burned in your mouth, mate? You're fucked, mate. Everyone knows you open the top of the meat pie, you put some tomato sauce and you mix it, and then you use the top as like a taco and eat it, mate. Australia, mate. I love how meat pies are so ingrained in our culture. Like yesterday I bought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 packs of like meat pies because they were half price. And the whole bottom shelf of the fridge is just meat pies. It's so ingrained in the culture. When Hutchin was here on exchange, she was like, what the fuck is this shit? This is so bad for you. Frozen meat and carbs? This is disgusting. And now I've stocked up the entire fridge. And she's like, for emergencies only. And I'm like, emergencies? You mean when we can't be fucked cooking? Oh, man. The Australian court system is fucked. There was a German company that was sending letters to people that were illegally torrenting this German movie that was featured. You know how they have like the global film... They have like a global film cinema... it's not a contest, but it's like a global film festival, right? And a lot of indie films are featured, and they host it in a cinema here. It's in Fox Studios, but they host it in the cinema, and it's like the only place where you can watch these foreign films with subtitles. And all of them are considered really good. So you have movies coming from France, Italy, you know, all these different European countries. And there was this German film that was apparently there, and it was really good. And then people wanted to watch it because they heard good things. And of course... They didn't have DVD copies, they didn't distribute it, they didn't stream, there was no copy of the movie available. So what did Aussies do? Some Aussie cunt with a camera pirated the movie and uploaded it online, as you do, you know, Australia, mate. Anyways, the German company that owned the rights to the movie started sending letters to people that were accessing this pirated copy of the movie online. And the letter was basically, pay us, you know, this $500-600 a fine, you know, that we are issuing, you know, formal letters and legal jargon and whatever the fuck, or we will take you to court and we will sue you for damages, tens of thousands of dollars and all this shit. Anyway, an Australian court got wind of this. It turned into this huge thing. It was all over the radio stations, which is why I feel so confident with piracy in Australia. And I'm not even talking like a regular court judge. I'm talking like a Supreme court judge basically picked it up and says, nah, this fucked, mate. Let me tell you what's happened. And he's like, Australian law for piracy, unlike the US and other countries in Europe, we don't have the compensation part where it says you have to pay for damages and compensation for potential lost profits and whatnot of the claimant. In Australia, you only pay the damage portion. Damage portion being how much money did the right holder lose by you pirating the film. And this is like a Supreme Court judge, like High Court of Australia. We're talking like top tier. We're talking old bastard with the white wig. And he's like, in Australia, given that this movie did not have distribution and an online copy isn't available, technically you're liable for nothing, as they lost nothing. But if they had an online version available, you would only be able to be charged for how much they lost from you illegally copying an online-only version, which, you know, would amount to a couple of dollars. So they would have to take you to court, win, and then they would only get a couple of dollars. So his advice, and this is like a High Court of Australia judge, like the highest court of the land that can tell politicians to fuck themselves, basically says to the Australian people, if you get one of these letters, wipe your ass with it, because it's not worth the paper it's written on. And I'm just like, Australia, mate! Why did I call everyone mate? Inmate. Everyone here's a fucking former prisoner. This is the country where you give prisoners a country. This is what happens. Funnily enough, we have a very legal, very decent legal system. The only problem is that, like any legal system, the police and prosecutors always push to get a conviction outside of trial, similar to how they do in the US. So they will go for a charge that's far larger than what the person actually did. So the guy will plead guilty to a much lower charge, so they bypass the whole legal system, which is very scummy. Other than that, when it comes to things like corporate law, IP law, copyright law, business law, it's actually very reasonable. You look at business law and any sort of consumer law, and it's quite logical. It's like, say for example, I bought a car, and the consumer law is, well, you bought a car, you expect the car to fulfill the function of a car. Buying a new car means you expect the car to be in good working order, the parts all should work for a reasonable amount of time. So the factory might say, we only have 1 month warranty on the tires. But the Australian court will say, well, hang the fuck on. How long would you reasonably expect new car tires to function? You know, on an average day-to-day non-drifting, burning out scenario. Because if you do that, it doesn't apply. But like, for a reasonable person using car tires, how long would you expect a new pair of car tires to last? Right? More than a fucking month. So your whole 1 month warranty thing does not apply under Australian consumer law. So I could technically, and you know, when I'm an asshole, I pull out my trap card. I could buy an electronic like a washing machine, a fridge, a monitor, a microphone, and they could say 2 months or 1 year warranty. Under Australian consumer law, I can argue that a reasonable person would expect a TV monitor to work for 10 years. And I could argue that in court. So it's in their best interest to give me a new monitor. I have argued, this is probably why I have a corporate job, but I have literally argued the case that an item was sold and misrepresented by the sales merchant. Because of that, we bought it. So we bought the item thinking it functioned a certain way, which it doesn't. Therefore, we want a refund. Because we would have not bought the item had it not been misrepresented. Now, in most countries, they'd say, fuck off, mate. In Australia, they say, hang the fuck on. You promised that this does something. So you made an offer to the purchaser. The purchaser accepted your offer and paid how much you asked. And then you altered the terms of the deal. That's not how it works, mate. Best part about this is, it's very difficult to prove what a sales guy did and didn't say at the point of sale. Which is why a lot of companies try to ignore it. But if it goes to a court, the court could technically rule in your favor because people's statements are admissible. Yeah, I made the meme, I like it. But you get what I mean, right? So I have argued these things multiple times. Like, I took Hutchins' old employer to the fair trading. They were systematically underpaying all their workers. They were saying it's a trainee salary, which doesn't exist. And they were paying them like $10 an hour on Sunday. But the minimum wage for waitresses, particularly in the restaurant industry, was like $19 or $21 or something like that. And on Sunday, there's what they call penalty rates because it's Sunday, which is like a 1.5 multiplier. So I basically turn up, you know, when she leaves her employment, I basically turn up with a letter of demand, basically saying, here's a calculation of how much you owe her. And they didn't want to pay. But what really rubbed me the wrong way was the Korean franchise owner was only hiring very poor English-speaking migrants while they were sitting in the manager's office, getting fat all day, eating sushi, doing no work. And what really ticked me off is he sent his manager, and I was recording the whole thing. And it's like, oh, I'm not taking the letter. I'm just saying like, look, this is a letter of demand. I don't have to physically give it to him. I could put it on the floor. You're here. You've acknowledged that I've attempted to deliver it to you. It's like, oh, we'll just say we didn't receive it. I'm like, well, lucky for me, I got a video recording of that. But here's the letter of demand. She's simply asking to be paid how much she's owed under the minimum wage of Australia. You can either pay her that or, you know, you can try your luck. He didn't want to. I'm like, oh, okay. So I got into the chat calls that they had. They had like this WhatsApp group for all the workers in the restaurant. I basically got in there and screenshotted everything. The timesheets for every worker. You know, and because they were using WhatsApp, everyone had their name there, including the fucking owner and the telephone number. So I screenshotted everything. And then I basically sent him a formal email with all the screenshots, letter of demand, and I'm basically like, pay her what she's owed, or I am going to the Department of Fair Trading and doing, you know, the equivalent of a class action lawsuit for every single one of your employees for your systematic underpayment of your staff. And they'll go after you. You know, this is getting the government involved. So, pay her, this disappears. You don't pay her, you can have the government on your ass. He went ballistic. Deleted the chats, telling people not to talk to Haru, she's crazy, blah, 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 blah. Like, apparently at work, he went nuts. You know, Haru still had people that were working there. So apparently he went absolutely nuts. Like, fucking paranoia hit him like a truck. And Hutchins like, what are we going to do? I don't have time. It's like, it's cool. You could do what is, not power of attorney, but you can give me permission to handle this matter on your behalf while you're not here. She had to go back to Japan. And she's like, how can I do that? It's like, cool. I did like the whole formal letter, the signature and everything. She goes back to the Japan and I'm handling this whole thing over here. And as you know, the bureaucratic process takes over a year. She comes back here 2 years later and I basically pushed this whole process to the last step. And the last step is the mediation step, where the Department of Fair Trading calls you, the claimant, the defendant, to have a conversation, you know, to have mediation. But you have to be in the country. Haru literally needs to be there. But I could speak on her behalf, but she has to be physically present on the call. So I'm there with my little lawyer hat on. Anyway, the call takes place. And it's like, oh, Department of Fair Trading is like, hi, you know, whatever the fuck your name is from whatever sushi company. I can tell you the name, but it's a good story. And they're like, yeah, we're here with Haruka and her appointee, you know, appointee. They didn't even give my name. It's like, is this the guy over at the restaurant? I'm like, you idiot, you just acknowledged that I attempted to give you a letter, but anyway. I was like, yeah. He's like, you're her husband, aren't you? It's like, it doesn't matter who I am. He's like, doesn't matter who I am. We're here to talk about you. So I just flipped the conversation to him. Anyway, so they asked me, what are we asking for? And I'm like, I'm just asking for what she's owed under the Australian, you know, Workers Act of whatever the fuck, minimum wage award standard of, you know, whatever the fuck, you know, there's they have what's called an award, which is effectively what the minimum wage is for any given job in any given industry and any given salary. And I'm just basically like, we're just asking for the minimum wage for the job that she did at your restaurant. That is all. We have the timesheets. We have the evidence. We have the proof how much she was paid. We did the math calculation of how much she was underpaid. That's all we're asking for. And the woman from the Department of Fair Trading that can actually make a judgment on this, but she's just like, okay, fair enough. On the other side, what do you have to say to this? And honestly, there's this saying, when people assume you're an idiot, it's best to keep your mouth shut. If you open your mouth and you prove you're an idiot, that's even worse. He starts talking about how she was on a trainee wage. And I'm just sitting there going, oh, this is beautiful. And all these other things. And then she's like, hang on a minute, trainee wage? She's like, yeah, the minimum wage was like $20 or something. But they're trainees, so they're not fully qualified. And I'm like... So I worked in the restaurant industry since I was 15. And the trainee wage doesn't exist. It's basically just this thing that McDonald's and other stores use to hire people that are under 18. Because the minimum wage law does not kick in until, at the time, you're 18. Which is why you see under 18-year-olds working in McDonald's, Subway, Hungry Jack's, all that sort of shit. Because the minimum wage law doesn't apply. As soon as they turn 18, they fire them and they get all these new kids. Anyway, he starts talking about this. And she's just listening to it. And then she's like, okay, do you have anything else to say? I'm like, yes, trainee wage. Did I mention that she's over 18 years of age and minimum wage laws apply to her and all the other workers in your franchise? Does that mean everyone's getting paid the trainee wage? And the woman from Fair Trading's like, systematic underpaying your employees? And he's just like, oh shit. And she's like, trainee wage does not apply to anyone over the age of 18. Is everyone at your establishment over the age of 18? And I'm like, of course they are, because they serve alcohol. And then she's like, you serve alcohol? Do you have an RSA, which is like an alcohol distribution? It costs hundreds of thousands of dollars for restaurants. And he's like, because if you're serving alcohol without an alcohol license, you are technically in breach of, like, dig in that fucking hole, right? It's like, it's like, where is this establishment? I'm like, oh, it's across the road from university where a lot of university students go for lunch. Dig in that hole! And now she's fired up. Because not only is he underpaying one worker, he's underpaying all of them. And not only that, but they're serving alcohol and they potentially don't have the accreditation to be legally serving alcohol. And then there's the other question of, let's take a look at your tax returns. Because if you're saying you're paying people $20, but you're actually paying them 10, but you're claiming on your tax return that you spent 20, you are tactically committing tax fraud, which goes into the criminal side. So it goes from being accidentally underpaying an employee, which is, it happens. You can just remedy it and no one cares. To you don't have the correct licensing to be selling alcohol. That's leaning towards negligence. And next up is tax fraud, which is they will literally send you to fucking jail. Anyway, to make a long story short, he's like, I will pay her. So she got everything she was owed. The entire franchise got audited. And when I say audited, he had to pay for government-accredited accountants to go through every single book, every single scrap of... Like, when the government audits you, they fuck you. And you pay for it. You pay the government to fuck you. And they don't even buy you lunch or dinner. They just go in raw. Last I heard, he had more than $500,000 of back pay he had to pay employees. The business went under. I don't think that fucker's driving that new Mercedes anymore. Do you? And then Hutchin was just like... And I just patted her on top of her head. She was just like... It was a good day. beware the wrath of a patient man. It took more than 2 years to execute that, but I ruined that motherfucker's entire career. I'm about to end this man's whole career. What ticked me off wasn't that, you know, he was hiring people and paying people for cash. I get it. Some people are on student visas. They can only work for 20 hours a day. So to bypass that, they get paid cash in hand. I don't care. I turn a blind eye to that shit. What got me was that he was exploiting migrants who didn't know any better. And when he was confronted about it, he had that snarky, smart-ass attitude. You know that attitude I'm talking about? Whereas like, well, what are you gonna do about it? And that just rubbed me the wrong way. I mean, had he just been like, shit, fuck, I'll pay her and just fuck off sort of thing, you know? I would have been like, I hate your guts, but this is not worth my time. In his case, he was snarky. And then when I actually got all the evidence to basically show, dude, I'm serious and I can prove this shit. He tried to be a smartass by saying she's crazy and deleting it and blocking it and all this other shit. And then I'm just like, you know? Yeah, nah. Even though I'm mixed race, sometimes I'm glad I was born here so I don't have to deal with immigration shit. Oh man, we're dealing with Hutchins immigration shit right now. Some people get approved for visa status like bam. Hutchins been waiting more than a year. All the paperwork's been submitted and we're just sitting here going, what the fuck's the holdup? And they do all the things, you know, like background checks, criminal checks, employment checks, health checks, visa checks again, education checks, social media checks, you know, like, and I'm just sitting here going, how long is this gonna take? Just fucking do the checks. And then you get news of, you know, some guys that came from overseas a month ago got granted visa status because, you know, there's a quota on visa It's absolutely fucked. There's quotas for everything in Australia. In corporate, in companies, in visas. There's like a quote. We need a certain amount of people from these countries. We need a certain amount of males and females. We need a certain number of this. And it's like, is this how you're literally processing these things? Are you fucking joking? Are you fucking joking? So you've got a low-risk person here that actually legitimately wants to work in the country, pay taxes, is qualified to be a school teacher, which you're short on, by the way, qualified to work in childcare, which you're short on, by the way, you know, pristine, clean criminal record, health record, all the 9 yards. You're stringing her along. Meanwhile, you're granting visa status to a bunch of people that you're dumping in communities that have no criminal background checks, no formal education to work in industries that you're low on employees for and are most probably going to end up on welfare. But you're streamlining those applications, but someone that you actually need who can't work because you haven't done the visa application is getting strung along. And you wonder why the country is fucked. Huh. Tax dollars hard and work, ladies and gentlemen. Sounds like a load of bullshit. It fucking is. It fucking is. We ended up paying someone to do the paperwork because I know how this bureaucracy works. You submit everything they ask for and they come back and say it's not submitted in the correct format, which is some arbitrary fucking bullshit regulation that they have on their end that they can use to say whether or not you've submitted something correctly, which they will not tell you about until you submitted it. So they'll keep forcing you to resubmit it because every time you submit it, you have to pay a submission fee. So it's literally milking people trying to apply for visas because they can. Like, the people that work for government are not the best and brightest. Let's just put it that way. On top of that, the people that are running the government are bigger crooks than actual crooks. I mean, we have a saying here in Australia, it's called, keep the bastards honest. Which is a little difficult to do because they're all corrupt shits. But anyway, that's another story. So you basically hire an immigration agent and all they do is tell you, you need this. You provide them with this. and they format it in such a way so it complies with whatever the hell. That it's the right page size, that it's the right font size, that it's the right format, because that makes a huge difference, right? But anyway. Like, Australia, man. Fucking man. Alright, can we get back to the book? I gave you guys 2 fun stories. Let's get back to the... What's it called? Flammenwerfer. Am I pronouncing that correctly? I need to ask someone. One of my favorite ones is Heinz! Get the Luger! Okay, story time with Kuma. Fun times. At that moment, as if to answer... Wait, how did the girl open her book? At that moment, as if to answer, or rather to ridicule my question, voices started flowing into the room. The many voices were all speaking simultaneously, so it was hard to make out what they said. I listened with all my might because I heard words that I thought were my language. There were probably 13 voices flowing in at once, so that everyone in the room could understand. The voices relayed information that was quite important, yet it was not helpful at all. The books each of us were given, grimoires, books of magic. We should use them to kill each other. Only 2 of us were to survive. Seriously? They just turned this into Danganronpa. They just literally turned this into Danganronpa. There's 13 students. Kill each other! Fucking... Kill each other. But how? Here's a book. I don't know. Beat him over the head with it or some shit. You wake up in the morning. Oop, boop, 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 boop. Oh god. Oop, boop, boop. The explanation, short as it was repeated, without clarifying the exact reason or goal. Well, the exact reason or goal is quite, you know, obvious. Cost containment. They promised you all a lot of money. How do you think they get that money? By killing the other people. So you've got 10 people being paid 10 grand. They offered one person 100 grand. And you have to kill the other 9. I mean, quick math. Top secret mission my ass. Deceiving me like that. I spat out as I cautiously looked around. In this room without windows or doors was no place to run. If I wanted to get out alive, I had no choice but to fight. What's interesting in Australia is the legal classification of a bedroom is it must have a door, it must be above a certain size, and it must have a window. Anything that does not have a window cannot legally be defined as a bedroom. We used to do the sneaky thing when we used to have openings and we would say like 2.5 bedrooms. And people would be like, 2.5 bedrooms? What the fuck is 2.5 bedrooms? And you're like, well, it's got the classification of everything to be a bedroom except the window. Hence 2.5 bedrooms. And then the person's like, I don't give a shit about a window. And I'm like, well, then it's 3 bedrooms for you. And then in the person's mind, they're thinking 3-bedroom apartment instead of 2-bedroom apartment. Even though it's technically 2-bedroom and a storage closet. My god, I should have been a used car salesman. What kind of mileage does it get? Mileage, da! It drive good. It's a fucking Eastern European car. You remember that time Homer bought an Eastern European car? And he had to literally push it to start it? What country is this from? It no longer exists. Oh, man. Fucking Eastern Europeans. I had this guy, and he was an amazing World of Warcraft raider. But he was from one of the Arabic countries. I think he was from Lebanon. And I was looking to sell my car, and it's like, oh, my uncle sells a used car dealership. He'll give you a good deal. And I'm like, God, no. For you, my friend, good deal. $10. I'm like, are you fucking shitting me? I got offered like 13 grand for my car. I'm like, mate, the same car with a higher mileage on like car sales is 17 grand. It's like, yeah, but you gotta go through the hassle of selling it. I'm like, mate, it's 4 grand. It's 33% of the car's value. What the fuck, man? Oh, man. Used car salesmen, never trust them. Does it still work? It did. Damn it. If everyone in the room was to go all out killing each other, it would be hard to even leave 2 alive. Just having one person survive would be pushing it. And if we're not careful, everyone will die. However, I have to avoid being the first at the very least. The girl that conjured the black hand reached for her book once more. The guy next to her was faster. The guy raised her by her neck and wrung it. With the dull sound, her limbs lost their strength. 1 down. Alright, I'm sorry to say this, but doing that to someone isn't as quick as you think. She'd still have like 15-20 seconds of oxygen left. You can't just grab someone by the throat and snap like a twig. We don't have enough torque in our hands to snap a neck. The best we could do is block the airway and they pass out. Even then, you know, you gotta stomp on the neck a few times to break the airway permanently. We can't just do the Darth Vader with a hand and snap it. It doesn't work that way. Don't ask why I know this. 1 down. I guess the next victim would be the guy that killed the girl. That's not how the Force works. I guess the next victim would be the guy that killed the girl. Anyone becomes defenseless the very moment they take down their prey, so obviously his back was already targeted. 2 people charged them at once, but not because they conspired. They simply both judged in an instant that it was the most effective action to take. However, the 2 of them did not kill their target. The moment the girl's body disappeared in her book, the guy that seemed to be the victor fell to the ground with anguish on his face. Lying motionless on the ground, he too was swallowed by his book, and the 2 books were all that remained. Their covers turned into a green like jade, and the other amber, both of them forming a peculiar face pattern. There's one thing that I learned about battle royales. You don't have to be the best fighter. You just have to avoid fighting and kill the one that's left. I mean, if you look at the whole Hunger Games scenario, the winners of the previous Hunger Games were not the best fighters. They just chilled for a while. This is the book hungers. Use the magic book, the lass muttered with a slight tremble in her voice. The girl that conjured the black hand from her book to kill the guy was acknowledged as the victor because she used this grimoire, but the guy that killed her with his bare hands was not regarded as such. So that's how it works. Got it. In this situation, avoiding to be the first to go down is the right answer. That's why I did not move, and gestured the lass with my eyes to do the same. Now the rules of the game were clear, and I finally grasped the situation. But now the problem is, we have no clue how to use this thing. See, that's the thing that gets me about being born a guy. You get given this thing, and you don't know how it works. I mean, you eventually learn how to aim the thing, but then you hit the teenage years, and then your mind explodes when you realize it's used for more than just peeing. Guys should get an operating manual. It's only fair. Don't laugh. How the hell do you want me to use something as insane as magic? I felt a little grin form on my lips, even though it's not even funny. I just realized I was heavily shaken. Even when I first faced the legions, I had not felt this disturbed. I just had to do as I was taught in training. Even in unexpected situations, there is always a way out. Find a way out. Because I knew that I was able to keep my cool. But what do I do here? It's nothing like in training. And I don't know if there is a way out. On top of that, 3 people died in front of my eyes, in rapid succession. It's all because of these damn books. I tried to smash the book on the ground with all my might, when somebody grabbed my arm. I am happy that there will be 2 survivors, not 1. We can get away with not killing each other. We can both survive. We are lucky. I wondered if luck was the right word in the situation, but she smiled at me. Not like the faint smile that I made from losing my mind, but one I could tell came from the bottom of her heart. Calm. Everyone else is alone, but there are two of us. When thinking with two heads, we can find a solution faster than all the others. She was probably right. In here, having someone to communicate your intentions with can be a most powerful weapon. Just pointing out, I'm not the brightest out there. I know, she snickered. Bitch. The lass hit the cover of her book with her hand, and then she examined the book with an earnest look on her face. He's like, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I know. And it's like, slut? You didn't have to say it. That person, she was angry and was almost killed. The Black Hand is connected to one of those. Or maybe you have to have met both requirements to use this Grimoire thingy. Nevertheless, if we had to be on the verge of death to activate this thing, it would not make things easy. Maybe they told us to kill each other in order to clear this very requirement. Ah, now he's thinking. You're not supposed to agree. I know, right? Oh, or maybe she raised her head as if realizing something, when suddenly the expression on her face froze. What's wrong? I thought. But I failed to exclaim the question. I thought I saw her stretch out her arms at me, when I felt something hit my back. I realized she had knocked me down. In tilted perspective, I saw a gigantic black lance had penetrated the lass's body. All sound faded away. She must have seen the Black Hand from over my shoulder. That's why she suddenly knocked me down. Maybe to return the favor from 3 years ago. Maybe she... A book nearby started shining. I rushed to her side. At this rate, she was going to be sucked up by the book. I held her in my arms and strongly grasped her hand. Don't disappear. Please don't disappear. Her lips moved. What is it? What do you want to say? But I could not understand her language. Come to think of it, I did not even know her name, because we had never expected to live to see each other again. Neither of us had given their name. Suddenly, the heft escaped from my arms, and the hand I held tightly slipped out of my grasp as she disappeared. Bloody angel beats. All that remained of her was a book with a red cover. Oh, shit! Did I just get that chill? Did you guys just get that chill? The red book in the fucking library that we destroyed was her. Oh my god. Oh. Oh. Oh god. We killed Vice's former lover. She wasn't even fighting back. You guys remember in that fight? She wasn't even attacking us. She was literally like flapping around. We killed a defenseless book that was no threat because... Wow. Oh, wow. I wonder if Weiss realized when he got his memories back. Oh, no. Oh, the chills. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh. Oh. Really adds context to the fight. Oh, shit. Yoko, Taro, you cruel son of a bitch. Why do you do me like that? These short stories are just filled with pain. It was a deep crimson, like the color of blood. The face that formed on it did not bear the slightest resemblance to hers. Everything went white before my eyes. I cried out, merely cried it out. Countless letters I had never seen before appeared, blocking my vision, yet I kept screaming. All of a sudden, the faded sound came back. I heard screaming and several groaning voices. Many pointed spears were protruding from the floor. With a blank look, I gazed how everyone in the room was skewered in a single instant. Due to the strange letters in my sight, I had long lost my sense of reality. So all the abilities are coming out. The first woman had the fist. This one got killed with the spear, the lance, and now he's using, you know, the thing that comes from the protruding from the floor. So they're all awakening different powers of the Grimoire. Before long, however, my vision returned to normal. A young man was standing on the other side of the room. A triumphant grin formed on his lips. With his book in hand, this was the guy that summoned the spears from the ground. Apparently the letters had protected me from trouble. I survived. But the thought didn't make me happy at all. I had no desire whatsoever to laugh in triumph like the guy in front of me. But on the other hand, I did not feel like mourning over the dead either. Frankly, I did not care one bit. Then I saw something shining in the corner of my eye. My book. My book started emitting light. Even though I had won the fight, the other guy shouted something in a bewildered tone. I guessed he was complimenting about how they deceived him by telling the final two to remain would be able to get out of here. Actually, the voices had said, only 2 of you are to survive. But they had not said anything about letting us out. I had a feeling this would happen. The higher-ups in our organization were not a pleasant bunch. Oh, motherfuck! After all, luciferase being a preventative medicine was a downright lie. Even though it can delay the onset of the disease, it cannot prevent infection. I first got wind of the rumor a little while ago. We were deceived, and simply used to suit their convenience. We were given medicine without preventative effects, and thrown in the midst of a huge source of white chlorinization syndrome infection. The children led away by the pipe were all doomed to fall ill and die sooner or later, or they turn into monsters to be killed by their comrades. The situation in this room is probably a human experiment too. From the moment we were collected here, our fates had been sealed. The guy's shouting had stopped, and I saw a face form on the now pitch black book. Just like the last, it did not bear the slightest resemblance to his original face. However, I'm not sure whether you could say I saw it, as my body was already sucked into the book. I cannot see the color of my own cover though. Ah, I see. White. The White Book. Grimoire Vice. What a ridiculous name. I can't hold my laugh. So from now on, a new fast begins. Now that we were given new faces, what roles are we to perform? I just kept on laughing. Oh my god. That chill. Holy shit. The 13 grimoires created from this experiment are vessels of magical energy, created for the purpose of forcefully recruiting gestalts and replicants in case they don't merge together. Grimoire Nier and Vice are the key grimoires, while the others like Rubrum are likely a backup energy reserve in case some crazy guy decides to bash the power out of a talking book. This is probably why Rubrum was incapable of speech and likely wasn't sentient. So they just did this whole experiment to see which 2 grimoires they're going to use as the primary. Because they wanted grimoires capable of murder. Whereas the other ones were just used as backups. Wow. Wow. Dude. To think we killed Weiss's former lover, all because NieR hit Weiss too hard and he lost his memories. Dude. You know what is actually quite appropriate for that drop? Holy shit. Copies of Grimoire Nier were distributed among with free food as charity campaign, which would trigger the Gestalt process when a person touched the copy. This was actually an attempt to find the prime Gestalt, which was crucial on countering the relapsing. Even though the original Nier did see two people turning into Gestalts in immediately relapsing, it is likely that he never fully understood what or how the books function and kept them for no real reason. Wow. Wow. I mean, this goes on so many levels. One, they're treating these child soldiers as nothing more than military assets. Assets and tools that are used to fulfill a function. Afterwards, they're reprocessed or repurposed to fulfill another function, until they're eventually either used up, broken, or discarded. And I love how they were given the hope of escape. The cruel, inhumane efficiency of their captors. From the beginning of their military service, they were nothing more than tools. It is fucked. And then you've got the cruel, analytical, inhumane strategy of getting the prime Gestalt. And when you really think about it, on a completely species world level, if the world is going to be destroyed, you kind of have to cut the pleasantries. But at the same time, just look at the cold, calculating nature of what they did. They knew people would relapse and many would die. But they put it together with the food because they knew people would be desperate for food. Because, let's face it, they just need the prime Gestalt. And then even when they got the prime Gestalt, they lied to him about his sister to get, I mean, the sheer cruelty. I mean, you can't blame Noir or Nier or anyone else, or Weiss or the other people, because we don't know how we would react to this situation. You're dealing with a bunch of child soldiers stricken with PTSD, put them in the room, said kill each other, and one person just got their neck snapped. What do you think happens? They just go into combat mode. So, survival is a thing. But at the same time, it's just, oh my god. I mean, there's dark, and then there's this shit. And then the realization at the end that it's like, we're not getting out of this, are we? Fuck. That is another reason the Grimoires were created, in order to find the prime Gestalt. Whoever could control the Grimoires and use magic without turning into a shade would be the one that would be the focal point of Project Gestalt. It's likely that the magic is a self-defense mechanism fueled by their powers. Notice how Weiss eventually ran out of power, which suggests that no Grimoire was really meant to use the infinite amount of power for long. He was meant to fuse with Grimoire Noir to complete the project by fusing every Gestalt and Replicant, but he didn't. This would also mean that the sealed verses were reservoirs of fragments of magical power given to them by Devil or Popola in case the project met further complications. So, when he disappeared, like when Weiss disappeared, that's because he ran out of power, right? And so he could no longer maintain a physical form, because I never really understood that. He kind of went, oh, I'm going now to deal with, the other person and help you along. I never really fully understood where did he go. He just sort of disappeared. He sort of faded. And I'm like, what the fuck, you know? Oh my god. And then after that, you see him in Route E. We get a little bit, but... oh my god, this franchise. And then you're just looking at the image of 9S and 2B just standing there. And when you really think about it, after all this, life in another form continues. Like, it really makes you think existentially from a species point of view. What is going to happen on this planet after we're gone if we don't destroy it? Life will exist in another form. Oh my god. This is heavy, Doc. This is some heavy shit. Technically, his data is saved because he entered the data tree with NieR and his data got saved, which is why we saw him in Route E. So when he went to the data tree earlier in that route, that was the copy of him that was recreated. Does that mean that that copy will not have any recollection of what happened after that point? Because only after that did he realize, thanks to Devler and Popola, the truth. And does that mean that the NieR that was recreated from the data tree does not know the truth? I must know. Ah, this fucking series. Oh, how does one man live with this depression? Seriously, Yoko, Taro, how do you function on a day-to-day? You must be perpetually sourced on alcohol to be numbed from this shit. How do you live? I think I've read somewhere that while it was the 16-year-old NieR, he has all the memories. Because I know the memory tree's function was to gather and catalog the memories, but there is still a certain point in time when that memory was collected. I think the data tree just collects all information of the mold, so maybe it collected Grimoire Nier after he disappeared. Grimoire Weiss. Maybe. So maybe he just turns into an energy when he disappears and that was captured by the tree. Because I don't know how far the tree's range spans. I mean, let's face it. Physically, the tree was not that far away from where they died. The Lost World will go into more details. Okay, oh my god. These are good. Okay, let's take a little break and read the next one. These stories are amazing. I'm gonna start a folder really quickly so I can keep track.
Vice, you dumbass! Start making sense, you rotten book, or you're gonna be sorry. Maybe I'll rip your pages out one by one, or maybe I'll put you in the goddamn furnace. How can someone with such a big smart brain get hypnotized like a little bitch, huh? Oh, Shadow Lord, I love you, Shadow Lord. Come over here and give Vice a big sloppy kiss, Shadow